Brent Perigo, tonight's second place finisher. Plenty of fans here, Brett, and a solid second place finish.
Yeah, I got to shout out the Turn 2 Terror Boards over there. They're all a bunch of good guys to hang out with, talk to. I really like them.
How are you doing tonight, man?
Hey, I'm talking here. You know who you're talking to? Macho Man! I'm on my way to Monday Night Raw.
The second one.
Your choice.
It's a trap.
I feel like it is. I feel like he's setting up fights in the front stretch is what he's trying to do.
Speedway. Got Devin Gordon with us
at Keen Motorsports Shop here with Kyle Keen.
Sitting here with Sean Keen. We're going to talk a little bit about racing history.
Yep.
You hear me?
My bad.
I'm freaking out. I just moved everything. I thought it was me. I'm like, oh no, my stuff's broken.
I'm here talking, and I had my my mic not fully plugged in. What's going on? June 5th. Thanks everybody for tuning in. It is June 5th. Jeremy here. I'm Jimmy. I'm all screwed up now because of that. We got a lot to talk about though. We had the Steve Smith tribute race at Lincoln. Some drama there, of course, unfolded. A little bit of a rivalry, little bit of the gloves coming off between Anthony Macri and Brent Marks a little bit. We got high limit to talk about, Outlaws, All-Stars, local PA racing this weekend upcoming. But first, we're going to bring on in a second here, young driver, Cam Smith, driver of the Trone 39. Excited to talk to him about his season so far and his weekly progression as he continues to find speed. Finished 7th at Lincoln on Saturday night. So great run for him.
Friday night.
What's that?
Had a 4th place when we're running away.
Yeah,
Friday.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll talk to him about his career and season so far and what the future holds. But Jay-Z, how you doing first?
Man, I am good. I'm excited. Good weekend of racing. I took a night off Friday and I couldn't get enough streams up at one time. I got to watch everyone else race instead of watching one in person, and it was a nice break for one night. I hated to not be at the racetrack when I could have been at the racetrack, but it's going to be a long season, and tank's almost running on empty, it feels like already, and I'm just a fan. So I took the night off. It was great, and made it to Lincoln Saturday. Got there a little bit late, and the weather was a little dicey here and there, but I got there, and it did end up raining, unfortunately, but still a pretty good night of racing, and a little drama to go with it, and got home in a decent hour. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Also, I forgot about Baps too on Thursday. We'll talk about that
That's
as well.
Thursday.
You were home
That
by
was
like
one of the
9 o'clock.
reasons. One of the reasons I didn't go Friday was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There's 3 4-day race weekends. They add up quickly. So I did go to Baps Thursday night. Was home again at a great hour. They kept that moving really nicely and had another fantastic race at Baps.
I mean, never a bad race there. That surface is great. I was at Williams Grove only on Friday. I was helping out, not really helping out, but more or less just standing around and watching Brett and Carmen Perigo. Carmen was running the East Coast 360 race. That was pretty interesting. We'll talk about that and a lot more. So, without further ado, though, let's bring on the man of the hour, Cameron Smith. Cam, how you doing? Thanks for
Good.
joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So you got out of work early enough to make it tonight. Did you get a free pass on that one, or was this a scheduled night off early?
So, we were working on Tim's daughter's rear quarter made axle. She bent so many different ways on last Wednesday. So we were working on that. Yeah, I texted him earlier on in the day. I said, "Can I go early?" And then at like 7:45, I was like, "Oh shoot, you should probably go." And him quick and got it.
So I know where you work. I know who you work with and kind of what you do. We're going to get to that in a minute. But let's start with a little bit of your background. You're a pretty young guy, so there's not like I have to go back very far in the history books here to learn about your racing. But tell me a little bit about your family. Kind of, I think a lot of us that are close to you and know you enough, Tim Gladfelder is a big part of your life. And tell us a little bit about your racing history and in your family's racing history to up until now.
Yeah. I started racing in teen, and I think I was 9. I was either 9 or 10 when I started, and midgets for uh, 3 years, I think, or 2, and then I ran micros for 2 years at in Linda's, and then in 2021 I moved up to a 258. I ran like 15 or so races that season, most of the races at Trailways, and then like 4 or 5 at Lincoln, and then the next year, 2022, I ran 58 for most of the year, and then I got 5 wins, and then and asked if he'd race for me, and obviously I said yeah for 410 ride, and then I won another race, and now John wanted me to run for him again in 2023 with Troy, and yeah, I'm still racing for him.
Audio, JZ.
Sorry about that. We're 2 for 2 here, bud. So that kind of leads me into what you are doing for work. You are still in school. Well, you might be out for summer break, but are you? What year of school are you going into?
Year, my last year.
Got it. So you're going to be a senior. You're off for the summer. In the evenings during the week, you work where?
Oh, I'd go to school obviously in the morning, and then for pretty much go to the shop until it depended on the night, but probably around like 5 or 6, and then go to the car lot, Tim's car dealership, for the last like hour or 2 of the day and help.
Got it. So everything you do pretty much all day revolves around some kind of cars. Would that be correct?
Yeah. I'm pretty much probably for a little in the morning, and then go to the car lot and detail cars and stuff like that.
Got it. So, tell us a little bit about you're put it this way. As an observer, kind of watching, you kind of burst onto the scene for me. I watched you race at Trailway. The one night I went to Trailway before it closed, may it rest in peace. You were racing 358s, and I think something happened to the primary motor you ran, and I came over and was talking to Tim, and he said he got this motor from like a barn, and we don't even know if it runs. And you had to show up and you're running for points and you're going, and I think you end up running fourth that night with this motor. It really impressed me because yeah, it doesn't take a ton of motor at Trailway, but it matters. It matters that it runs all night. It matters that it has enough to at least hold your own, and it can be a big problem. And it was super impressive to me, and then it really caught my eye. And like I'm not the first one on to like what you were doing because you were already succeeding at that point. But it was really this like rapid rise in 358s. Like you caught on to this very, very quickly. And then, you go into that last season and you win 5 races in a 358. Why do you think that transition from was so easy into a full size car in that division? What do you think? What do you think it was?
Probably just, I mean, I went to the sprint car races all my life, and I saw how the guys do like certain moves with setting up for passes and stuff. And another thing that helps too, which not a lot of kids have, is just experience with working on the car and stuff. Not Tim and the crew, like they knew what to do. When I told them one thing, they knew exactly. That was a huge advantage in 358s, especially 410s. Pretty much everyone. With 358s, I think some people that are new don't work on it, but they're not the best at getting the car right. I feel like when I tell Tim what the car great on the next time I went out on the track, so that was probably the biggest thing. I just had probably every night, which yeah, that's probably the main reason.
If you and Tim ran a 358 race together, heads up, who wins?
I don't know. That's hard because a 310, but I think it depends on the track surface. If it's on the bottom, obviously, that's the only place he runs.
How many times have you been on the racetrack around him in a 410?
I don't know. I mean, we race against each other, but we haven't really raced like too much. Probably like 2 or 3 times, but just minimal stuff jobs on each other or anything. Like we were like hard and we could see each other asking for position that I can remember.
So when you come off the racetrack, is he the first one to at your car basically? Now you're in. Actually, let's try this. If you could just go audio only, I want to see if it clears up your audio, if that's all right. So when you come off the racetrack, obviously in your 410, you're driving for John Trone and you have a crew chief. Is Tim just as active with helping you out and what the car's doing and what you need with that deal as the 358?
Well, it's up there. Like if he's racing like Fridays, and he pretty much, unless it's Saturday at Lincoln, yeah, he's there and like he'll talk to me after the races. But I mean, Kevin's the one that first want to talk to me when I get out of the car and ask what's up and everything. But yeah, me and him and Tim in a circle and talk about what we can do to get the car better. So yeah, I mean, now Kevin has the final say and he does what he think will be best, which usually is pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, you have some trust there and which, listen, like it's experience. He's been around a long time and there's some trust there for you. I read an article just a couple days ago, Jeremy Elliott wrote and kind of talked with you and about, what's been happening recently. And, I think there's been a noticeable improvement in your results here in the last 2 weeks. And I know you and I chatted into pits, I don't know, maybe a week and a half. I don't even know which day it was. These all races run together. But you had mentioned that you had ran the car Troy was running and you felt, a little better with it and you found some things. Did you then go back to your car or have you stayed in that other car? And what do you think really helped your comfortability here in the last 2 weeks?
No, I'm still yeah, I don't know. It's just different. I don't know how to explain it, but the car definitely. But yeah, I think the main thing is we just kind of focus on Troy and Wilbur a lot, but I think it's just we've we only have to focus on one car. It's a little too much for just like 4 or 5 guys in the pits to get a car right after. So, yeah, probably just focusing on one. Kevin and the crew can just work right instead of 2. So everyone's putting their effort into one car, which I think makes a difference.
I mean, it has to in some way or another. It's not like it gets easier with more cars. So it makes a lot of sense. I got a chance to watch the Williams Grove race this past Friday, sort of as in a different perspective. Usually I'm somewhere in the infield and I can see about, 30% of the racetrack. I got to watch that race on Dirt Vision and really kind of see it from an angle I haven't seen this year. And I was really impressed with your ability to kind of move around a little bit, not be afraid to search. I know you talked a little bit afterward about, you were a little frustrated that you maybe didn't move. But watching that race, I think you did a really, really good job. I mean, how do you evaluate? I know no race car driver likes to finish fourth, but how do you kind of evaluate your night?
The difference with being able to move around the track is throttle control. Like I was like, I'd run in so hard into the corner, and then I just buzz my wheels coming off or slide up, and I think control that you need in a 410 compared to a 358 in order to run the bottom and even like on the cushion and stuff because I don't want to throw the front end. But yeah, Friday I'm kind of think I should have at least got third. I think I had a third place car, Danny and Freddie compared to everyone else, but I think I was better than Lucas. Once I got my wing back, I was about ready to pass. Yeah, that's kind of bumming. It would have been cool to get my first podium in a 410, but Lucas, I think I watched the video, the National Open video from like 2005, and I was born in 2005, so he's been racing as long as I've been alive, and for where they go. So I'm not too worked up over it, but I definitely want to get better.
We got
The 39 is a pretty storied ride here in Central PA. Not just for you to jump up to the 410s in your rookie season, but to do it in that type of ride. Was there any extra pressure than, maybe if you're doing it somewhere else or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure, but they want me to, they understand that I'm not going to do great every time on the track, but yeah, they're good because, I mean, the people that were in the ride before were all so good. So, I mean, Jonathan expects me to do good, but I don't think he expects me to win every race. He knows how hard it is to win a 410 race now. I mean, there's definitely a lot of pressure, but we're getting better, so it's kind of relieving now.
Now that you're closing in on a podium finish here. You're getting, this was probably your best weekend so far in a 410. Am I right in saying that? I mean, a fourth and a seventh are pretty good results. What's your goal for the rest of the season?
Well, I mean, my goal for every race, that's so tough to do, but probably just consistent finishes like inside the top 5. I mean, we just try to go and win at every race we go to, and just try to get better and better.
of the tracks that you run on regularly, what has kind of become your favorite track so far?
Well, probably with that, other than because I won every sprint car race I ran there, but with the 410 and stuff, comfortable there. I ran the most races there, and I know what the track does and how to set up the corners and skin for most comfortable. But the path's definitely my favorite track. It's so cool there.
I knew that answer probably before before I asked it, but you and I chatted about that a little bit, and if you've never got to watch Cam run laps around Path Valley in any sprint car, you need to go do it. It's impressive, and it looks like he makes it look like fun, and it probably is. But he does a really nice job on the tight bull rings, and that's definitely. And we talked about it fits into your driving style, and I think going from a 358 to a 410. I think that's also why you did so well at Lincoln in the 358 really early and quickly adapted to it. It has some of those characteristics. Jumping up to a 410, whether you like a track or you don't, is a challenge. So, did you ran maps Thursday night, correct?
Yeah, yeah, we struggled a little bit, but I mean, I met them. That's where I ended up. So yeah, we didn't do too good.
And listen, and if you look at the rundown of that field, that was a pretty stout field from first to 12th. So you were battling with guys that they've won races, they've ran up front. So I was watching you run a little. I saw the aggressiveness that you had. I saw you were making moves, you were changing lines. Not that you haven't before, but I just think this past week was really impressive from my standpoint. So it just looked like you were driving with some confidence. You look comfortable, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. I did after, I don't know, last week at Lincoln, 5 behind Aaron, and I was just kind of the first like 10 laps of the race. I was just kind of floating at gate and like grabbing the cushion and driving back off of it. But then they were pulling away from me and they were doing. I was like, if they can do it, I can do it too. So I just tried it and I kept getting better and better and better. Back that passed me, and then yeah, I think ever since then my confidence got a lot better. And then Friday I was running the top against the wall. So yeah, I think confidence, throwing slide jobs and stuff like that without confidence, I don't think you can do it as good. So confidence has definitely helped me the last week or two.
Yeah, I agree completely, and I think it shows. I think it shows on the track, and and I think at some point you're going to have to learn how to get comfortable in a cushion in a 410, and not just get comfortable, but be able to drive it and be aggressive. There's a point where that's just going to have to be what you got to do, not just go up there because everyone else is, but go up there with a purpose and intention. And that takes time and being comfortable and knowing that you're not going to go up there the first time and just make big jump because that's expensive. So. Plans rest of the year, kind of the same thing you're doing. Any traveling outside the normal tracks?
Yeah, I don't know. We different places all the time just because it'd be fun. But who knows if we'll actually do it? I mean, we'll good. Maybe John will let us travel a little bit, but as of now, I think we're just gonna stay in the area.
Yeah. Any port races on your schedule?
Probably like it, if there's like out if Lincoln's not racing, they run up there. But I don't think we're gonna go to Lincoln instead of Port just because hard on equipment, and I kind of struggle there, and I've been running better at Lincoln, so I think we're just gonna.
Yeah, I think that I agree. I think that's probably the for now that's the way to go for sure. I just know that like what was your second or third 410 start ever was at Port Royal last year. So, uh, what did you think of that, by the way? How's that experience?
Well, it was against the World of Outlaws, and it was my second race before I didn't qualify. And after I didn't qualify, I think they'd be like, "I will try again next week." But no, they thought it. They said, "Let's go race against the Outlaws at Port Royal." So we got there and signed this document like 2 weeks before and get it notarized and everything. So when we got there, we loaded, and then I went and got the papers, and they said that I filled them out with the, and they said that ain't gonna work. So I had to wait till my mom got there to sign the papers. When we took it up to the guy that like was in charge of it, and he said that we needed to get it notarized. So we were like, we thought we were screwed. Tim and my mom ran to some random guy's like backyard. He had like a note shed of like his backyard, and they notarized it during heat in the motor. And I sat in the trailer car because they wouldn't even let me get in.
That is awesome. That's dedication
I
right there.
remember hearing that story, and I forgot about that part of it. I think I heard about it that day when you were there, and I totally forgot about that. It's hilarious. Jimmy, go ahead.
We got a couple shout outs here real quick from the chat. Mac from Australia. Good day, Cam and Terribles. All the best for the rest of the season, Cam. Cheers from down under. So you got yourself an Aussie fan there. Stephen Klingel, watching from Florida. Thanks for tuning in. And then we got. Well, we're gonna save that question. That's usually a question for later. We'll get there. But
All right. Well, I'll do mine, and we'll get into that one. So, Cam, how many episodes have you watched of this? It's okay if you say 0. You're not going to hurt my feelings.
I watched the one with Jaden, Troy, Devin. I think I watched the one with Justin Wiss.
Okay. So you know what's coming, right? You know my question?
I think so.
You have to name 2 drivers tonight. You're going to call out some drivers, good, and maybe whatever. One driver you love racing with, you have a good time. You just enjoy racing with that person. Yeah, you want to pass them, but you just enjoy it. And then one driver that is just a pain in your ass, tough to pass, hard to race around. Not a personal thing, just a hard to race around. I need one of each.
I don't know. Someone nice to race around. I mean, I'd say Tim, but I'll say someone. I don't really know. Usually, I'm the one getting passed, so that usually they don't have to race me too hard because I'm usually pretty. When I'm actually racing someone for position, I don't know. Have to say someone like Chad Trout or something who's not all darty and throwing sliders and race you clean. Someone like Chad Trout or even Danny. Me and Tim were talking about the other day. He ain't darty and stuff. He'll race you clean. How you race him. Yeah. So probably people normal. And for someone I don't like race, I don't really have any issues with people I race against. I just like him. I just know that Devin Borden's all over the place and wrecks a lot of people. So probably.
Fair enough. Jimmy, what do you got, buddy?
all right. Well, so Tony Sharp here, PA Posse 410 Sprint Cars asked this. This is also Chris's question that I usually ask every week. What Tony asked, what local race or event would you most like to win in a 410? And I'm also going to expand that question to what race in general. It could be Knoxville, Eldora, whatever. What's like your number one race that you want to win locally and nationally, or it could be both?
Locally, I'd probably have to say the NAS. This one class I didn't have service in. I download like all the national 2000 all the way up to now, and I watch like every single one. So, I mean, I kind of see like the history, try to win, and how hard it is to win it. So, probably the National Open at the Grove. For probably like a national race, definitely the Chili Bowl because midgets are like the coolest car. I'd rather race a midget than a sprint car if I could, probably. But yeah, definitely the Chili Bowl. I need to make the show there. I mean, it's the best of the best in all sorts of different places. Like NASCAR Ferrucci, you got like third in the Indy 500 raced it. So it's just all different levels. Definitely the Chili Bowl is the main race I want to win when I'm older.
Mark one down for the Chili Bowl. That's a new one for us.
I think that's the first one that we've heard, and you definitely would make Chris proud and make all of us proud with the National Open there. That would be awesome.
Chili Bowl. I can't argue that.
Any prospects for the Chili Bowl? Like, is that something that you're actively pursuing, or is that just something that you just want to do one day?
I don't know. I mean, that's just kind of a dream. I mean, if me around the Chili Bowl, I mean, it'd be awesome to go out to Tulsa and just focus on racing for all. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know if someone will give me a ride, but I mean, I'm not going out of my way to bull ride or anything. If I'm good enough to get an opportunity, I'll do it that way.
One thing I wanted to ask you, and I forgot about this till now. You got a chance to drive a wingless 410 down in Volusia. How was that?
I'm not as bad as I thought it would be. The first warm-ups, I just kind of it around. I got a little better, but it's not. It's definitely different, but it's not control as it seems. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, me, Tim, and Lee, and his crew guy Nick, we all went down, and all we had to do for a week is maintenance the things and race later on at the night. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely cool racing against all those guys. It was definitely cool, and even the last night I was in the B motor blew up, but I was still running. It was just like a rod was like knocking or something, and open red. And when I came into the pits because the guy that flipped hit my car, so I came was okay. And Kyle Cummins came over and like completely reblocked the car, put different stuff in. And when I went back out with his setup, it was like a completely different car. I went transfer spot, but there wasn't that many cars. It was probably like 12 cars, but I came up to like 6 or something features, which was cool. So yeah, it was definitely cool. I made the feature thing. I'm pretty sure that's right. I don't know, maybe only 2, but it was cool. It was the most fun I've had this year, just because it was kind of like a vacation, and it was Florida, 20 degrees here. But yeah, that was probably the most fun I've had in a race car this year.
It was interesting. Before you went on that trip, I met Lee. He was buying his new truck at the dealership I was working at the time, like a few days or a week or two before you guys went down. And man, he couldn't have been more excited for the trip, and he was getting all prepared and stuff. And it was neat to like follow along and kind of watch you get better. And I was watching both nights, I think Evolution. And by the second night, like the pace you picked up was super impressive. And I think you were pretty smart about it. And I don't think that anyone went down there with some expectations of like anything. It was like you said, the pressure was off. You could go down and learn. You got to hang out in Florida and enjoy some warm weather while we were miserable here. So good for you. So hey, shout out some sponsors, some people that help you out, help this thing get up and down the road every week.
Um, well, first I need to thank the crew. Me and Kev work in the shop of the week, so definitely Kevin and Barry go to the races. Barry comes to the shop a few nights of the week sometime, and not many people would invest thousands of dollars to just let a 17-year-old have fun on the weekends. For giving me the opportunity, it's pretty cool that he lets a younger kid from a race a 410 for nothing. So yeah, that guy. And for sponsors, Trone Outdoor Advertising, print and media, Vortex Wings, Penske Shocks, Ducks, Maxim Chassis, Brickers, and I think that's it. I think Battlefield Vodka, but I don't think I can say them or something. But they.
I think we lost him. Are you still there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I don't think you're allowed to say that yet. But anyway, I will. Battlefield Vodka, sponsor of the 39 Trone team. They have been for a long time. They have a stand at Lincoln Speedway just inside the turn 1 entrance of the racetrack. Summertime slushies are there. They do some mixed drinks. Cam may not be able to say it, but I'll shout them out for you because I am well over the age of 21. So, Cam, thank you so much for joining us, man. It was good to get to know you. If do you have merch, by the way? Do you have any merch?
Well, so many people ask me that and message me that, but no, not yet. I'll be on it, but so far we don't have any yet. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get some done this year, but just the 69 shirts from last year.
All right, so you go to the racetrack, go say hi to Cam, say hi to the team, buy a shirt, support this guy. He's an up-and-comer in Central PA. Lots of wins already and more wins to come. Thank you for spending a few minutes with us, buddy, and we'll see you around the racetrack.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Cam.
No problem. Take care, buddy.
Cam Smith, everyone. That was a fun interview. As always, a lot of these drivers are pretty awesome, and he's definitely a young up and coming kid. You know, good head on his shoulders. It seems like, and he's got a lot of talent. That's for sure. I was gonna be interesting. The Chili Bowl thing really threw me off with him a little bit. Just
Same. I don't think I knew that or would have guessed that.
yeah,
But I mean, we're in wing country, and not that he wasn't going to go wing racing, but it was pretty likely he was going to go wing racing if he was going to start racing. So,
oh yeah, yeah.
with
That,
his background, so
that only makes sense. All right, so let's get into the week that was in sprint car racing here. I guess we'll start Wednesday with High Limit. They were at Tri-City in Granite City, Illinois. Kyle Larson with the win. Rico Abreu second. Corey Eliason third. Macri was fourth. And this one had some PA Posse drama in the front. Because you had Danny Dietrich, who was in the early lead, I believe. And Brent in second. And something happened to Danny's car right in front of Brent and pretty much took both of them out by, not by anybody's fault, just bad luck. It was looking like it could have been maybe possibly a whole posse podium sweep, but the Gremlins on that 48 car came out. It was a good run for them. That car has been every single, I mean, they were only racing High Limit. It's a brand new car, and every week, every race, it's better and better. They're not like running it in between or anything. So it's really impressive to see the leaps and bounds they've been taken from first race, barely being able to get out of the C main to, leading a feature after only a few races.
Yeah, and he took the lead in a hurry. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, oh my God, he's leading. He didn't start like fourth, sixth. He wasn't far back, but he was in the lead really fast. And I think, well, listen, that's a long race. You don't know how it ends up going, but man, he could have won that race. Like, that car was
Yeah.
really good. It looked like super early. Maybe it fades late. I don't know, but turns out it faded pretty abruptly. I think it was a valve. I think I saw it drop the
Something
valve
like
or
he
something.
dropped a cylinder or something too, and
Yeah, so just kind of a shitty deal. And then Brent kind of ass packed him there, and then went to the next turn, and the car was broken and it hit the wall. So
yeah.
yeah, super shitty for sure. But winner.
Kyle Larson for the first time I think it's the first time in the High Limit Series that somebody did the dice roll
And
and
took
won
it.
the race. So, I think it's the first time that anybody's even taken it, let alone win. So he got
No,
that.
that's not true. Aaron Reitzel from sixth 2 races ago.
Oh,
Eight.
okay.
I think they offered him something. Nobody took it, and they offered him something. He didn't win, but
Yeah. But Larson won from here. Not really shocked there. Nothing really else from that race that I can really think of. Larson really pretty
a little
much
bit of drama
dominated
with
once he got out of there.
Well, there was a little drama with Rico, and he thought it was the checker flag was out, and he stopped, and
In the heat race.
yeah, like I don't know.
I didn't even see that. All I saw was stuff on social media, so I don't really have an
I
opinion on
didn't
it. I don't really
either.
know what happened.
I thought it was much to do about nothing again. I don't know. And
They end up
listen,
putting Justin Sanders into the dash because of it.
correct. And I know Kevin Swindell made a big deal out of it, which he
Mhm.
should. There's a lot to gain and lose there, or a lot to gain for sure. So it's fine with him being upset, but I think the overall sentiment that they can do whatever they want. Like, at the end of the day, they can do what they want with this. And this is, yeah, it's a lot of money, but it's also kind of a new thing. And they want to do it a little bit different. Like, you can tell, like, why penalize? Like, come on. Like, this is not, it's serious, but it's not necessarily taking like a World of Outlaw point series or, the Knoxville Nationals or, something
Yeah.
crazy. Enjoy the show. Just
Yeah.
shut up and enjoy the show. That's where I'm at.
Zeb Wise, hard charger, up 11. Corey Lyson moved up 10 to finish third. Larson moved up 7. A lot of hard chargers from the back. So, you want to get into that dash spot, but you can still, a lot of these tracks that they have chosen, there's a lot of passing. Like, you can come from, low top 10, maybe, if
It's
you're
almost
fast
like they
enough.
thought this out.
Yeah, exactly. So, congratulations, Kyle Larson. Good run for Macri, showing up for the posse, also for Danny and Brent. Just didn't get the result. Lackey McHugh. It's going to be a name that I'm probably going to see a lot here the rest of this episode. He came home 8th. Keep that in the back of your mind there. So that series goes to Eagle Raceway, which
Tomorrow?
is in Nebraska. Tomorrow. They will be there tomorrow. So I haven't seen this. One interesting to note from this past race was it was the lowest car count that they've had. They've been in the 40s and 50s. This only had 31, which I was a little surprised about. I didn't think they would be more than 40, but only 31 was kind of surprising, especially since the Outlaws and the All-Stars were all out that way. They were all within, a couple of hours. So,
I just don't think you're going to see Outlaws until you get to, the biggest
bigger
paying ones that are left because you got the millions still to deal with. I think that you saw what you saw for a while from the Outlaws invading that series.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And, I know the Outlaws only bring a handful. But even just like local guys, there wasn't really any. But
Peck was out too.
what's that?
And Justin Peck was out as well.
That's true. Oh yeah, that's true. So yeah, they were down a couple, but it's really showing that they have a really good base though.
Yeah.
Like they probably have the biggest roster when it comes to touring, to being committed to every race. So, you're going to get at least probably 20, 25 cars at the very minimum, easily. So, I think that might be one of the lower car counts that you see all year. We'll see what happens when they go to Nebraska this week. I think that's 28,000 to win. So we'll go from Wednesday. We'll hop to Thursday. You were at BAPS on Thursday night. Kyle Reinhardt with the win. Tell us what you saw.
Sliders is what I saw. The track was it was one of those again where early night, around the bottom there wasn't. I mean, it wasn't great until feature time. They did a little bit of work. We had time. There weren't tons of cars, so they had time, and they really did a lot of work on the track, and it was beautiful for the feature. They had a cushion. You could run the bottom. It was a lot of sliders to get to the cushion. Kyle Reinhardt started on the outside of the front row with Dylan Norris, took the lead, and Kyle Reinhardt, whether it was clean air or in traffic, literally had someone battling him. It felt like every other lap, whether it was Dylan Norris or Jeff Halligan throwing sliders at him. It was super entertaining to watch. It was fun. There was lap traffic, even though there was only 18 cars. There were battles literally throughout the field that almost that whole race. He held off Halligan on a slider, and then they had a restart with a green checkers, and they took off. Reinhardt went to go, and Halligan was trying to guess the start, and he misjudged it and jumped up over the back of Reinhardt, kind of jammed up everybody behind them, and they went into 1 and 2, and it was a mess. And Chad Trout, he threw a slider, and he didn't allow Devin Borden to exit the corner, and took the spot, and really it jammed everything up. And Freddie passed 2 or 3 cars on the bottom to end up third. He might have been running 6th or 7th and going into turn 1 and came out of there third. So, Chad was being pretty aggressive there, and I think that was a little bit of eye for an eye, as we're about to talk about more from earlier in the race. Devin threw a pretty short slider on him, and I think that was sort of getting back a little bit there, and it worked. They both did finish, but Devin didn't finish quite as good as he would have if that didn't happen. So super entertaining race. So it was Reinhardt, Halligan, and Freddie were the top 3, and I was home by 9 p.m. on a Thursday. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, and watching the highlights, besides the one race, of course, that I went to there this year where it rubbered up, all the races have been good. I mean, and that's usually how that track is. Usually, you get 9 out of 10. They're just good battles, throughout the field. That track tends to get especially when they could get 3 and 4 wide, like up towards the fence ish. Not all the way up. It usually doesn't get all the way up there, but when they could get 2 or 3 lanes in 3 and 4, that's when that track is at its peak. 1 and 2 blows off and always gets up there pretty quick, but if they get 3 and 4 working right, which they usually do, it puts on a great show. And Outlaws go there next month. midweek show. It might be the best PA outlaw race that you see all year. It has the potential, or it could be. I hate to say it could be the biggest shit show too, but I'm
No,
on the optimistic side of it's going to be a great show and really put help get that track back on the map a little bit nationally.
but the bar's set pretty high this year. That Lincoln Outlaw show was pretty good.
It's true. True. Okay, maybe it'll be the best one in July.
Okay, there you go. I like those odds pretty good. But no, yeah, I agree for sure. And there's a lot of good momentum right now with the races they've been able to put on. And even if I think they have a pretty good handle on their own track. You can really kind of tell, like, okay, we know we can do this and this will improve it, and it does. You get a good sense of they're comfortable with doing what they need to do and knowing what they need to do to make that feature what everybody paid to come see. So
Yep.
yeah, it was fun.
Cool. So that was Thursday. Congratulations, Kyle Reinhardt. That course sponsorship. He's got to get a. I'm behaving. I'm just giving my opinion there. That course sponsorship. I would love to see a whole Coors wrap on that car. I'm a big Coors fan, so it's cool to see Coors on a car. And
Yeah, I think that's a good partnership for a long time for them. And I hope that you can always only hope for bigger things from a company of that size. So cross our fingers.
Friday night, Williams Grove. I was there for that. 410s, Freddie Raymer with the win. Him and Danny really battled it out. I wouldn't say battled. It got close though. It was really Danny kept trying to keep up with Freddie as they moved up to the lead. I think they started like towards the back end of the top 10.
7th and 8th, I believe.
Yeah. So it was good battles. Cam, who we just talked to with a good 4th place finish, he was out there. Him and Lucas were kind of the guys up front for a little bit over about half the race, and then Freddie and Danny came and they worked a little bit of lap traffic. They had a late caution that kind of stacked it up, and Danny was trying to chase Freddie, just couldn't get there. It was closer than I thought it was going to be at the line. I didn't really see the full end. I was back in the pit area. But from what it seemed like on the replay later, he made a charge at it right at the end, but couldn't get there.
Yeah,
so congratulations, Freddie.
Danny was really good in 3 and 4 on the cushion. Freddie was running the bottom, and Danny kept trying to cushion him 1 and 2, and it was so far out and around that any momentum he gained off of 4, he would lose him 1 and 2. And listen, he's the race car driver, but I almost felt like if he could just mirror him in 1 and 2 and stay equal, he had a really good shot with the momentum he could carry through 3 and 4 to do that. And I think he was the faster car at the end there, but it's Williams Grove, right? So you got to find a way around, and he just didn't quite get there. But he was it wasn't for lack of effort, as we will hear as a theme this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. And the track started. Shout out to Williams Grove. The rain was coming. It felt like it, at least. It was right after all the heats got finished up, and there wasn't enough for any B mains. So in either division. So it was like 20 in each class, or I think USAC East Coast had 23, and I think the 410s had 21. But so there was no need for a B main, but they were keeping it pushing. It was like 8 o'clock, a little bit after 8 o'clock, maybe like 10 after 8 when they got done, and they were getting ready to roll in the features already. And it was getting breezy. It was starting to get dark. And they kept it pushing when they got everything in. Which was great. I don't think it actually rained at all.
But I think it missed, yeah.
Like it was, but it was close. You could tell, you could feel it in the air, and they kept it moving. So shout out to them for keeping it moving. But the track did take a little bit of rubber. It was hot. It was so hot. It was like mid 90s almost. And they ran a lot of the heats and everything in the daylight. So it took a little bit of rubber in 1 and 2. But that didn't mean it was locked down. It wasn't really locked down on the bottom until the end of the USAC feature, which was after the 410s. So, it is what it is. But it was overall, it was a good surface, even though it took rubber. It 1 and 2 got wide. The USAC feature. So, shout out to Carmen and Brett Perigo letting me hang out in the pit and everything with them and help them out a little bit with what I could. He ends up inheriting the pole. The pole sitter pulled right in right before the start. Carmen gets the pole. I ran up in the top 3 pretty much most of the race. Went right before they were about to start. I'm standing at the top of the pit grandstand. I'm looking back. I'm like, why is Briggs' car back there? Briggs Danner, USAC East Coast point leader. He was one of the fastest cars with Alex Bright and a couple other guys there. And I'm like, well, what's going on? And he's not racing. I guess a rear end or motor or something blew, and Ed Aiken lent his ride to him, and so he had to start dead last. That didn't hold him back. That was something, like him ripping the top, especially in 3 and 4. He was just passing 2 cars at a time, ripping the top. Once he got up into like 7th, 8th, it obviously became harder because the faster cars were up there. But man, he was ripping. it was fun to watch. He ends up getting up to 3rd. But Alex Bright takes that home who was in the 27, in the Hefner 27. It was the Bill Gallagher Memorial. So it was kind of, it was good, good for that whole team there. And it was a good feature. It did take a little bit of rubber at the end there. It is what it is, but I definitely think the show is Briggs.
He absolutely. So it was actually interesting, getting to watch that. I was a little concerned about the 27 or the 5 or whatever they're calling it. I guess the 27.
27.
And Alex Bright, because in his heat race he ran like 5th, and he made up no ground. And I'm like, something's off. Like something's not right. Well, after he wins, right, he comes out and he talks because he started in the middle of that field. He comes out and says, "Well, we didn't have any brakes during the heat." Well, that's in a wingless car at Williams Grove. That's kind of slicked off. That's not a great combination.
Nope.
So I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. And then, watching Briggs Danner, and obviously they kept the camera on him once he got, rolling a little bit, and they should have, because there wasn't a whole lot else to watch, unfortunately, with just the way the cards fell and the weather and the track. And 3 and 4 was impressive on TV as you were watching in person. It was unbelievable the amount of momentum he would carry. I think what made that really work is that 3 and 4 isn't as wide as 1 and 2. 1 and 2 around the top was a mile out there.
It's so
and he
far.
ran it anyway.
Yeah, and especially with the rubber on the bottom, as it took, the bottom just became undeniable.
And once he had a chance to move to the bottom, he did. But
yes,
throughout, he wanted to keep his momentum up and just keep momentum. You could tell. And I don't know how much time they had to get the car changed, if they did or they didn't. I don't know.
It wasn't much.
Like, that is super impressive to go jump in someone else's car, go out there and start on the tail and run up the 3rd in a line no one else is running.
Yeah,
no one.
Yeah, I was. That's what I mean. I was so confused because, where we were parked at, it was only like 2 or 3 spots down from Briggs, and I when they blew the horn for drivers to get in their car, I saw Briggs get into a car, and then when I looked back and his car was there, I'm like, what happened? And then that's when I heard that he was in the 7 car, and I'm like, he's gonna come up. I did not think he would get 3rd, but once he got up to like 10th really quickly, I'm like, he has a shot if he got a couple late race cautions, and he did. But yeah, so that was fun. Watching that just makes me really excited for Eastern Storm here in a couple weeks. Next week, I guess it'll start here, where USAC comes in, gets some wingless action out here in PA. They provide some of the best racing that you'll see. Sometimes not the best racing, but they can really they're just something else to watch. It's a totally different animal, even though it's the same car as a wing car.
For sure. Not that I want anyone else to watch anything. Not that I want anyone to watch anything else, but I'm hearing Jade Abadesian just had a big flip in the Indiana Midget Week on Flow. So hopefully she's okay. Prayers, red flag. They're not really showing much right now, but pretty big flip apparently. I don't have audio, so I'm not sure what's going on, but I just see a bunch of tow trucks and cars around there. But anyway, yeah, I'm super looking forward to the Eastern Storm, and I've caught those over the years here and there. I'm looking forward to being intentional about going and seeing as many of those as I can. I'm super hyped to watch Crown cars run around Port Royal.
Yep.
And I hope that they are able to run on the fence because I just feel like that makes a lot of sense to me, and I want to see that really
Oh,
badly.
they will.
So,
They'll
she's
be
out of the car. She's
good.
climbing out.
Good.
Awesome.
Good. Well, that being said, let's get into Saturday. Let's get into the meat of this episode because I feel like there was two things on Saturday night and they were pretty much happening almost simultaneously.
Yeah.
Well, one after another. There's a lot going on. So I was
Pretty
home
close.
Saturday night. I had 7 things up on my screen, 7 different races all at the same time. It was heaven. Thank God for streaming. All right, that's all I'm saying. Let's start with Lincoln. $10,119 to win for the Steve Smith tribute. Freddie Raymer with the controversial win. It shouldn't be controversial, in my opinion, but it had its drama, of course, because it's Freddie and Danny at Lincoln. Freddie gets the lead. There's a late race caution. Danny's tracking him down in second. Last lap, they take the white flag. They go into 1 and 2. Danny sends it up on the cushion, hops it, gets into the wall, flips, brings out a red flag. During the red flag, it starts to rain. Race is called because 34 out of 35 laps are done. The race is at 34 and a half laps are pretty much done. So they called it Freddie Raymer the winner. But when Freddie came to a stop under the red, for the red, he spun it. Just 180 degrees, nothing crazy, just spun it. That's didn't see the spin on flow, so I don't know who was there. Didn't look like anybody was around him on TV, but didn't look like any harm, any fault. It looks like he just came to a stop, for the red flag. So there's a lot of controversy around that because why should he win $10,000 when he spun to a stop under red flag? What are your opinions on that?
My opinions are it was a great ending. And if you weren't at the racetrack, you should be going. The passion that you see every week at Lincoln Speedway because of those 2 drivers
Yes.
is unmatched.
Yeah.
So, but with that passion comes a lot of stupidity, right? Absolute mind-numbing stupidity over what people think should be happening versus what's happening. I've seen it for years and years and years when Freddie's dad ran at Lincoln, and everything that happened on the track, they would say Raymer did it. So as soon as Danny flipped, I just yelled Raymer did it because I grew up saying Raymer did it.
Right.
And at the end of the day, he kind of did because he's trying to pass Freddie again because
Mhm.
Freddie's beating him again. And after that restart and clean air, Freddie kind of took off, and Danny, once he got going again, got his momentum. He was running Freddie down, and I was standing on the exit of 2, like along the fence on the backstretch, and I saw him go down into 3. Danny ripped the top, kind of did a cut down line down the front and had momentum. And I'm like, he was sending it harder and harder into 1. Freddie's running the bottom, Danny's running the top. And he was sending it harder and harder. And I'm like, this is going to be good. And I didn't watch Freddie at all. I watched Danny and I'm like, man, he's flying. His rate of speed on the entry to 1 was so fast and compared to like what Freddie's, slowing down to get to the bottom. So it just looked like, slow motion and just and he went up there and I'm like, oh. And I really didn't think he would crash the car. Like, you don't think that. He doesn't crash a lot of race cars on his own. And he did. And it was pretty massive. It was a big wreck. And immediately there, it's chaos because it's a last lap. They took the white flag. Last lap, by the way, it had already started to rain before this. It was raining while they were racing. It wasn't enough to eliminate the dust. You could still see some dust going. So it wasn't nearly enough to affect the track yet because they were still going, right? So they would have finished that race under green. It would have been fine. I don't know what would have happened, but I was here for it. And really what you saw was the end of that race in turn 1. The end of that race wasn't in turn 4 with Freddie spinning. The end of that race wasn't any other bullshit that people can come up with. The race was over when Danny flipped because they called for rain. If the red flag comes out, and Freddie wants to get out of the car and do goddamn cartwheels down the backstretch, the race is over
Yes.
because they never got going again. Now, it's red flagged. Why he spun, I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
The race was red flagged. The argument I have for this is I've been around racing a long time and watched it for a long time. We all have. Okay. Everybody watching here has, everybody listening to this has. I'm not special. But how many times have you seen a red flag come out and guys just kind of come to a stop as they want to in different levels of panic?
Yep.
And somebody might pass someone else during that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they pass them during that, does that mean they get that spot when they go green?
No.
No. Why is that?
Because the field's froze, and
so what happens after during a red flag is the priority is to get stopped.
This isn't the first time we've seen someone just kind of 180 it or slide to a stop in a weird way for a red flag and they kept their position. I mean, completely extreme circumstance, but Tuscarora 50 last year, you had Logan, I think Danny, get out of the car to go help Sisney, who was on fire, under a red flag. They kept their position. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's a totally different situation, but it's like,
and honestly,
the field's froze. They shouldn't lose it anyway.
You want to talk about that? And that's an all-star race, right?
What's that?
Is that an all-star sanction race we're talking?
Yes. Yeah, if you get out of the car, you're
disqualified for getting out of their car. They let those guys go out for a safety reason, get out of their car and go try to help another driver. They didn't disqualify them. Okay. There isn't a rule that says how you have to stop or whatever. They just expect you to stop. Now, Freddie came out of turn 2. Danny's flipping. I don't know when the red flag comes out in Freddie's view, but he stopped exiting 4. It's a long way around. I don't know. I was watching Danny. I didn't see any of this. And Luke just chimed in here. I agree. I don't understand why it's such a debate.
Yeah.
The reason it's a debate is because of who it was, right?
Yep.
And both sides here, I've already seen it on the internet because, again, it breeds a lot of stupidity. Passion and stupidity go together, turns out. Oh, but if that was the roles were reversed, Danny would have been penalized. No, that's not true because there's not a rule. And they didn't go back to green. So the what ifs and the hypotheticals don't matter. Reality is they did not go back to green. Reality is they didn't give anyone a win. He earned it.
Yes.
Reality is he didn't jump the restarts other people did.
That's another thing.
To give him a win. Reality is he started in the front row and passed the car that was on the pole, I believe, right? Yeah. He didn't start on the pole.
I can't remember where he led all 34 and whatever laps. So
reality is he led 34 and a quarter laps to win a $10,119 in the Stevie Smith race.
Could you imagine them handing a check to Corey Haas for $10,000 who didn't even lead a lap? It's like
the
last
only
year.
People that would have been happy are Danny fans.
Yeah.
And Corey Haas. Sorry.
Yeah, and Corey Haas, of course.
Sorry, of course.
Actually, shout out Corey Haas. That was a solid run. Second place.
Okay, so and Tony Sharp, wherever driver scored at the line last time is where their official spot. It's not frozen like a yellow flag. It's frozen on a red flag. It's frozen.
Yes.
Yellow flag is different. They're still under. They're still moving. They're supposed to be moving. You stop, then that's a different story. Not on a red flag.
No, you're supposed to be stopped.
He could have just as easily done it right off of turn 2. As soon as he saw the red flag, spun himself out to lock it down to get stopped. I've seen that a ton of times. You're not involved in the accident. Now, there's always exceptions. There's always these things. These weird shit happen in racing. But I've seen cars not involved in the accident, lock up it, spin around to not be in the red flag, and they get their spot back.
Yeah.
Stop it with this.
Yeah.
All this is people pissed off that their favorite driver didn't win, and the guy that they hate the most was the guy who did win, and they gave him another win. You think for a goddamn second that track wants a certain driver to win? Stop it.
Yep. Brad Weatherby here also agrees. It doesn't matter once the red comes out. Field is frozen. Has won the race. He's tuning in from Dillsburg. Thanks for tuning in. Good point here from Tony Sharp. I've been saying it for 2 years. Danny and Freddie are the Jeff Gordon Dale Sr. of our dirt generation. If a fan likes one of them, you hate the other. It's a good comparison.
I mean, it's a rivalry, period. Both with the drivers themselves. Listen, we as fans, we can fabricate rivalries, right? We want that person to win, not that person. but it doesn't mean that they're rivals in the pits. These two are living out the rivalry, like not just on the track, but off the track. So it fits the narrative, it fits the passion, but it also breeds a lot of stupidity, and a lot of stupid is what I saw Saturday night
Mhm.
in all of it. And at the end of the day, though, I saw 34 laps of great racing
Mhm.
at Lincoln Speedway again. And I didn't even think they were going to get that many laps in, to be honest. The way I looked at the radar, we had the Darrell Waltrip vortex theory going, and unfortunately, it did rain. And I'll tell you this: Danny flipped, and they. Here's the stupidity, by the way. Another one. I'm walking through the infield to go around to the pits, and I hear someone going, "Oh, they're pushing Freddie to the pits. He's going to the pits." And then Wayne Harper comes across and goes, "Oh, the drivers have all requested to go to the pit area to wait out the rain." I'm like, "Hey, idiots!" Like that was the example of like,
Yeah.
you know, oh, all the cars are going to the pits because they asked to go to the pits because it's freaking raining.
Yep.
That's the kind of shit I saw Saturday night, and I love it. But I'm like, oh, it's also brain cancer. Like, it's just mental math with midget. Like, I don't know what the right word. What is that word?
Mental gymnastics?
Mental midgets? Is it
Mental
offensive?
midgets.
Don't
Okay.
say that. I can't. You're not allowed to say that.
I don't know if
Anyway,
that's politically correct, but okay, we're
there
not politically correct. So.
clearly there was a lot of alcohol being consumed. But the race was called. Freddie declared the winner. Corey Haas indeed was second. Great run for him. And unfortunately, we washed out the 358 feature, which I think was going to be a really good feature. The way that track was kind of there. I think the 1 and 2 was pretty far around, but I think 3 and 4 had a lot left in it where the guys could have really ripped the fence in 3 and 4. But what I was saying was when I went to walk across the track to go to the pits, and it really wasn't raining hard yet, but it was raining enough that they were like, "We'll go to the pits." It was slippery on the track. It was like greasy and it was slick. So I don't know. Where Freddie stopped too, he was in a where he did end up stopping was on an area that wasn't being ran on the cars were running. It was the extreme bottom exit 4. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
What happened? But
there
either
weren't cars
way,
right there. So
at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what happened. It was a red flag. As Sean Keane says here, he's someone who would know. No, it always goes back to the last complete lap. Always.
that means Danny's second, right?
What's that?
That means Danny's second. No, it doesn't. Okay. He's the reason for the red flag. I also heard that argument. He should be second place because, that's the field's frozen. No, he was the reason for the red flag. If the red flag doesn't come out, he does finish second or first.
It's Danny fans grasping at straws. And
Or
you
Freddie
gotta appreciate, or to Freddie, maybe it's not even Danny fans, just Freddie haters in general. Both of them grasping at straws. Appreciate the passion to an extent, for sure.
It'll never be different. I've heard this my whole life at racetracks. So it's just you come to expect it, but you wish people had half a brain cell to that together in the moments. But that's why they show up, and I think more people need to show up and have someone to root for. Because if you show up to a racetrack and just to see the race cars, you'll go once and maybe never come back. If you have someone to root for, you'll go back.
Yeah,
Sean, no, it goes back to the last lap, but the car in the crash goes to. Now that just makes too much sense. Don't you come in here with your common sense and logic, Sean, okay?
It's almost like officials kind of know how to officiate a little bit.
A little bit. They get it right more often than they don't, for sure.
Yeah.
Ashley Capetta checking in. Hey, guys.
Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Ashley. Ashley, by the way, doing some cool shit with an upcoming race. We may have Ashley on to talk about that here upcoming. We'll do that. Ant checking in. What's up, fellas? What's going on, Ant? Didn't see you in the pit Saturday. Wish you were there, buddy. We'll see you soon, hopefully. Somewhere.
Luke Ritz did ask. Talk about the jumps on the restarts. LOL. We got to talk about that a little bit.
I wasn't watching them, so I was watching the races, but I couldn't see where I was standing. I could not see them. All I saw was the checker. The yellow comes out, and they're penalizing people.
Yeah,
I did not get a good view of these, so I don't know if Jimmy, if you did.
So the Heat had Danny and Billy on the front row. It did see Billy got out to a lead, and when you're to second place, or no, was he the pole sitter? I can't remember, but I didn't see much on that one. But there was one car obviously with advantage. Now the whole row got pushed back. I don't know if
That's
is that a Lincoln rule where they move the
that's
whole row
the
back and
format
one
rule.
person jumps.
It was a PSP week format, and that's the rule of PSP week. Apparently,
Gotcha.
is what I heard. So
That's
just
what I
take
wanna
that as
know.
a grain of salt, but that's what I heard. That's the penalty for that format is that the whole row moves.
So I could say there's a debate on the one in the heat. Now the feature, you had Dietz and Billy on the front row. Billy gets a half a straightaway lead going into turn one. Call the row back. It sounds like Billy was pretty mad. It sounds like maybe Chase played around a little bit. From flow. Now I didn't have any sound because I'm watching 7 different races, but I'm tuned into that one. Uh, I didn't see it. It did look like Billy jumped it. Sorry Billy, but it did. But I don't like I said I wasn't there. I didn't hear. Because all it takes is a little bit of a throttle jump to make somebody think that you're going. You can psych someone out like that, and maybe that was going on. I don't know, but
I would
definitely
tune into Billy's
controversial.
YouTube. I would tune into Billy's YouTube when he releases the Lincoln episode. I would highly recommend everybody go watch Billy
For sure.
Dietrich's YouTube channel. It could be entertaining and fun to watch. So, um, yeah. But I will say this: Danny and Billy got moved back a row in that heat, and Billy drove like a pissed off teenager in that heat race and
Yeah.
got to the lead and ran away from Danny when Danny
Yes.
got to second.
Yes.
So
He
that
looked
car
good
was
all
hooked up.
night.
That car was hooked up and fast. So
He came home P5 in the feature, so shout out Billy. He still had a good night. Maybe not as good as he felt like he should have had, but he still had a hell of a night. So, Tony Sharp's the rule for most all 410 tracks. Any jump called, regardless of who it was, the whole roll goes back. Grove, Lincoln are the same. So thanks for that information.
but it's
So
most. So listen, in jump
yeah,
starts, we've seen you just redo it. I've seen one car get moved. I've seen them flip flop.
yeah.
Going into a night, unless you're in the driver's meeting, I don't know that rule as a fan. I don't know what track does what track does this, what format, what touring series. You just as a fan, you follow along and go, I guess that's right.
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
have to be at the driver's meeting or know every track's rule or this or that. I wish that was a little more standardized.
yeah,
So we knew, but I I don't know. Well,
yeah.
I don't know. It happens, but maybe because this one is just it was the same. It was Billy twice that we're thinking about it more. I don't know, but it would be easier if we knew as fans what was happening, and they may announce it, but was it the right call, or did they make it up on the fly?
Mhm.
Was there a judgment? I don't know. So I think I don't know.
I like the whole row goes back because if Billy's argument is that Chase kind of played around on that start, well, he's got penalized too. He just lost the pole, so because that could happen. So if it just wasn't a clean start, they go back and let somebody else give it a shot at starting. So I kind of like that rule, but controversial, of course. It wouldn't be it wasn't just Billy or wasn't just Danny and Freddie.
Not the other Dietrich was involved.
Yeah.
Right?
So, Port Royal then on Saturday as well. Devin Borden with the win in a wild feature.
Sounded like it.
It was 25 cars showed up. We had Derek Lock in a 410. He's running in that a little bit more. But Mike Walter got out to a nice lead. Blaine Heimbach was there. Heimbach took the lead. They're coming out of 4. Walter slides up out of 4, if I'm remembering this correctly. They kind of get together, tied off 4. They both get into the wall. They get sideways in the middle of the front stretch in front of the entire field. And chaos ensued there. Halligan took a nasty flip.
Couple hits.
He was okay. A couple other cars got tangled up in it. Didn't look like too many tore up race cars, but definitely those 3 guys definitely had quite a bit of damage. It was a good race though up until then, and then it was still a good race after that. TJ Stutz kind of held the lead for a while, and then Devin came. Logan Wagner had the lead for a while as well. After that restart, and he ends up breaking. I think he left rear went down. TJ then led for a while, and Borden came back and passed him and won the race. So, shout out that he just ripped the cushion, ripped the top, smooth as hell up there, as he's been all year, as he's been since he got in that 23 car up on that wall there. Definitely looked pretty good. Shout out to Mike Wagner, another top 5. He's just been very, very consistent there. Yeah, that's all I can really say from that one. Just tough luck for all those guys that got involved in the wreck on the front stretch there. There's a lot of cars. Trenton Schaefer went for a pretty bad wreck too in turn 1. That was on his own on the start. Hopefully everything there is okay. But I mean, I think that wreck took out Devin Adams. Derek Houck got a good part of it. Halligan, Heimbach, Walter. Just kind of a crap deal when it was scary, because when they got in front of the field and you knew, they're barreling coming out of 4, and you have 2 cars just kind of blocking the front straightaway, you knew it just wasn't going to end up good. It could have been a lot worse, but it was still pretty bad.
It was a weird spot. Like
Yeah.
I've seen a couple wrecks at Port end up like exit corner straightaway, and it's so uncommon to see that at a track with that kind of speed in a weird place. Like when you have those weird, not common wrecks, it's not in the middle of the corner. You kind of not predict, but you know where the cars are going to go a little bit. It was weird. It was just a weird place for it. And honestly, it's usually not that first car through. It's the second or third or fourth. They can't really see where the cars are.
Yep.
It's a visibility thing and timing. And thankfully it looked like everybody was okay, because that could have been ugly for sure.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse. Also with the super late models, Rick Eckert with the win. He just kind of dominated. Just went out and did it. And then 305s, man.
The streak is over.
Streak is over. Logan Spar fell off, man. No, I'm kidding. Drew Young with the win in the Middlesworth car. It was pretty cool to see that in victory lane. Good for that team. Yeah, so those were your results there. Yeah. Let's go into a quick World of Outlaws.
Oh, they ran? Did they do something this weekend?
They ran 2 races this weekend. Kind of watched them on the side. They ran at River Cities on Friday. David Gravel with the win. James McFadden led 25 laps, came home second. Brad Sweet third. This points battle between Macedo, Sweet, and Gravel is fun. It really is, as much as we hate the Outlaws here in PA. It's when they're not in PA, this is fun as hell to watch, because they're all like separated by 2-3 points. So Gravel getting the win there really tightened it up. And then on Saturday night, Ogilvie Raceway in Minnesota, first time there. Carson Macedo leads all but 1 lap, wins that race. Logan Schuart in second, Donnie Schatz third, Brad Sweet finished 6th. Shout out Brock Zierfoss coming home in 8th, and where is David? David Gravel was 11th. So I'm wondering how the points look now.
That was a fun feature to watch, by the way. I enjoyed watching that one. I stayed up to watch that after I got home.
It is
Gravel finishing 11th is an absolute gift from Bill Rose, by the way. Just want to say, did you see that?
Oh, really? No, I didn't.
So Gravel was he was in the pits. He got caught up in him and Macedo or Sweet got caught up in one. Gravel pitted, front wing was screwed up, came back on the track, couldn't handle, spun out, causes a yellow, goes to the work area. It's after halfway, so there's no guaranteed time. They're coming to green. They take the green, and Bill Rose stops on the track before they get a lap in. They had time to fix Gravel's car. He comes out.
To get him out there, or if not, he was probably finishing worth. So
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Just randomly stops the 1 lap after.
Carson Macedo has
I thought maybe Gravel had like NOS on the car or something. We couldn't see it. I don't know. It was weird.
Carson Macedo now leads Brad Sweet by 10 points and David Gravel by 22 points for the Outlaw point lead right now. Logan Schuart is fourth, 154 back, which isn't that far back. But when these three guys are running up in the top 5 every week, it's going to be hard to come back. Donnie Schatz with 188 back. Sheldon in 6, 200 back. And then Gio, Spencer Baston, Brock Searfoss, Jacob Allen round out the top 10. So, yeah. One thing that I found a little interesting before we get into the All-Stars here, Husitz ran last night. Who's the Bush's chicken guy? Chase Randall, right?
Chase Randall.
He won. Noah Gass was second. He charged up like 13 spots. Why was he even running? Like, that's a little curious to him. We're talking about not a lot of outlaw guys running high limit because they only get so many races. A random Husitz race for Noah Gass to be that. I mean, he ran great. There's some good cars there. But he comes home second. I just thought it was interesting that he was even there. So maybe something's going on there. I don't know. We'll see. It's something to keep an eye on. Let's get into the All-Stars. On Friday night up at Dodge County Fairgrounds, Corey Eliason with the win. Brent Marks second. Rico third. I didn't really watch too much of this race, to be honest. I was at Williams Grove. I watched a little bit of the highlights. Macri came on fourth. Lockie McHugh sixth. Again, I told you it was going to be Lance DeWeese seventh. I know he came up. He made the trip out there, a rare trip to 69K. So there was that. And then this is where we're going to get into another topic here. Plymouth on Saturday night for the Race Rudine Foundation 26K to win race. Rico wins. Brent Marks second. Chris Wyndham third. Macri fourth. Lance DeWeese sixth. Lockie McHugh eighth. Just great week. The story of Rico dominated this race. I don't think anybody was catching him, but that battle for second between Macri and Marks got a little dicey towards the end. That was the battle to watch on as they're navigating lap traffic. You had Macri on the bottom. You had Brent ripping the top. Pretty much all the way around the track, it seemed like. And then it was pretty apparent that Marks was probably going to get Macri up on the top because, not that the bottom went away, it just seemed like Brent was just running faster up on the top, and Macri throws. I don't even know if you could call it a slider. I don't know what he was doing, to be honest. Just kind of slides up. He was blocking, is what he was doing. Doesn't really leave any room for Brent around the outside. Brent gets into the back of him because he didn't really have a lot of time to really see where Macri was. For Macri, a little bit of credit. Like, it was a good move. You kind of didn't leave him many options, but, is it dirty? Is it clean? That's debatable. It was just very weird because it wasn't predictable. He was running the bottom every lap, and then for him to just come up like that, I don't know what the deal was, but then Brent got him back. Fuck around and find out. Came back and basically threw the same move, a little bit harder on him. That allowed Chris Wyndham to get underneath both of them. Brent came back and still got second, but that battle kind of took away from them even trying to get after Rico. What did you see? I already know what you saw, but
all right. So, people watch this enough, or people know me. I'm a Brent fan. So where I'm going to side with this if I'm just being the emotional fan about it. But I had to watch it a couple more times and to make sure what I thought I saw was correct. Macri passed Brent on the bottom. Brent was running the top. Macri was rolling around the bottom. They got going, and I think Brent was equal, maybe a little bit better. They had a yellow. Macri fires off and kind of gets out. Brent, as he said in his interview, it took him a little bit to get his tires going. Starts running Macri back down. Gets to him. Gets there. Macri knows he's there. He's close enough that Macri knows where he's on the top. Knows he's there, and then the very next corner just decides to take the slowest slide across the track, literally knowing he's parking it in the corner. It wasn't a slider because he was the lead car. That's not how you slide yourself in the lead car. car.
That's
right?
what I mean. I don't even know what to
It is
call it.
the world's slowest slide up to the cushion. And yeah, it left Brent nowhere to race. That's fine. It wasn't malicious to take Brent out. It was obviously a defensive tactic to hold the position. No problem.
Mhm.
But you also need to know you're just as susceptible to the same thing,
Right.
right? If you don't wreck that car and you do someone dirty, you might get it back.
Yep. And that's what
Just you
happened.
got to know that when you commit to doing something like that.
Mhm.
I don't care that he did it necessarily. I didn't love watching it. I'm like, oh, that sucks. Killed
Mhm.
momentum, killed their chance to win the race. But okay. But Brent does it back, and based on the victory lane interview or second place interview, excuse me, it sounded like Macri's team was hot and pissed off, and maybe coming after Brent, running their mouth. I don't know. I wasn't there, but based on the interview, it almost seemed like Macri's team didn't like the fact that they got it back. Well,
They got it back
listen,
twice as hard as,
but okay,
but
you
that's
you do
you
it.
got to
Hey,
be ready for it.
you leave yourself open to that if you do it, and you don't crash the car necessarily. That you're doing, you're trying to pull a move on. But just know if you don't get away, you're just as susceptible to have the same thing happen. And it did. It very much feels like a dish it out and can't take it kind of deal because it seems like lately Macri's been fast enough where he can get away with some of those things and he moves on and he's gone. You don't get a chance as the car that's a little slower to get back and potentially do that back. But just know that Brent isn't a guy that just kind of gives up a spot and says, okay, you got me.
Mhm.
He's going to go out there and race for every inch of it. I've talked to some people about it, and both of those guys have had to learn how to race with the best of the best in the Outlaws, and you race at 100% every lap. If Macri decides to make that move, fine,
Mhm.
but just know you might get it back,
Yep.
and just know that to go be pissed off that it happened is a little bit, I don't know, naive
Yeah.
to think that it might not that it might happen back to you.
Yep.
So it was very much a fuck around and find out scenario, and he found out. And it's kind of refreshing to see someone else go, well, you do it to me, I'm going to do it right back to you.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see it happen in the same race within a couple corners.
Yeah. Yep.
And he didn't right hook him.
Yeah.
He didn't chase Elliott somebody.
Yep. Yep.
He just did the same thing right back and secured his position and still got to hold on to second. So it worked out. Nobody destroyed their cars. But to be necessarily maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I saw it for what it was. And again, I'm a Brent fan. So I tried to look at that because I knew we were going to talk about it tonight as impartial as I could be, but I'm a fan at the end of the day. This whole podcast, this whole thing exists because we're fans. So if I'm being a little bit too impartial, sue me. Come find me.
Yeah.
I'm hard to miss at the racetrack. We can talk about it, but it was very much a fuck around and find out scenario
Yeah.
to me, and they found out.
I didn't want to see posse on posse crime out there. You know what I mean?
That's
Especially
hard
when
racing.
they're
It's
trying to
gonna
track, but it was fun to watch. I'm a fan of both.
Yeah, for sure.
You
And
know,
you're right.
and you know, I usually give Macri a little more benefit of the doubt than maybe I should. That one I don't. I understand what he was doing, but he got what was coming to him. I mean, he threw a very
Yeah.
short slide, didn't leave Brent much room to go. Brent maybe
Choices
could have
were
got on
on
the brakes a little bit earlier but he came up so slow.
right.
I think the only thing I could see Macri being pissed off that maybe he got it back twice as hard. I mean, Brent, he hit him pretty hard, but I mean,
Yeah.
but it was a message. It was a message to be like, all right, we race around each other nationally a lot, not just at home at PA, but we're racing you guys are racing for second. You're trying to track down Rico for $26,000, So things are going to get heated. Yeah, Macri's team, I could see them being upset, but not to the point where it's like they didn't know it was coming. That does seem,
Or
like you
surprised
said,
by it.
naive. Like you shouldn't be surprised that happened. And they didn't junk cars, and they still finished second and fourth. So,
And I'll say this, totally unrelated to that particular incident, but Rico Abreu is an absolute dog right now. Like
phew,
my man's is big time in the running for the million. Like he has to be in the consideration of absolute favorites for the million. I don't care if it's Eldora or not. He has been shown up at tracks and has been fast at every
He's
single one of them lately.
podium almost everywhere he goes.
Everywhere he goes and shows up and unloads, and he's a force to be reckoned with. So I'm happy for the guy. I mean, I think he's worked his ass off. He's endured. He's fought and battled and not been good sometimes.
He's worked really hard to get that his sprint car program up. You know, to get up to a point where they can go travel and run wherever they want for whatever money that they want, and be competitive and be good every night. And because a couple 2-3 years ago, like he would come into PA and be good for a couple nights, and then a couple nights he would be dog water, you know. But now he's just consistent every night. It's been, you've seen this progression over the past 2-3 years with that team, so it is good to see. I agree. Got Billy Dietrich in here, replying to Tony Sharp here. They're having a little bit of a disagreement on on the jump start rule here. Thanks for tuning in, though.
The hard part from a driver's perspective is they don't get to voice their opinion. That it's made, the decision's made like this, right? A driver gets to sit in the seat and go, "What do you mean? There's no way." There's not a discussion. Unfortunately, they're at the mercy of the person who perceived the jump. It's a judgment call on the fly, and you know that's why I'm telling everybody who's watching this, listening to this, just keep an eye on Billy's YouTube channel. I would imagine you're going to get to hear Billy's version of this, and you will be entertained and educated at the same time. That's my recommendation to everybody here.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see it. Like,
watch Billy's YouTube anyway. It's always entertaining. But yeah, this week I'm sure it's going to be fire.
Hilarious.
That wraps up the results from the weekend. Any other comments or anything? Anything you saw?
It was cool to see Riley Emmett back out at the racetrack. Multiple races. Aaron Bollinger back at Williams Grove. It was cool to see that. I hope Cody Harlop's feeling better. He was pretty under the weather this weekend. I heard a few other people were. Our buddy JG, friend of the show, Gibbler, was a little under the weather. Congrats, he got a new towing truck. So hopefully we'll see them back this week. We're hoping to see the Stricklers out in the next week or two again. Pretty rough weekend a few weeks back. They've been regrouping, rebuilding, so we're hoping to see them back at the racetrack soon. Good weekend overall. Kyle Reinhardt, congratulations.
Forgot about Western PA Speed Week a little bit. AJ Flick,
second and fourth for local guys going out point standings.
Yeah. So Mark Smith got a win last night after they really struggled at the beginning of the week, and they really turned it around and got a win last night. Dave Blaney on Saturday night absolutely put on a clinic at Sharon. He lapped up to fifth, and he was about to lap. He had 2 more laps. He's lapping up to third. AJ Flick, though, was consistent all week. He got the win, the Speed Week title, and I think he got 2 wins. Lernerville and I can't remember the other
PPMS.
track. Yes, yeah, Pittsburgh. So shout out to that team. He was just on recently. Really, really good dude.
We should have had Billy back on.
I know we should have had Billy back on.
I don't want to take away, honestly though, I don't want to take away from his setting and his thing.
Yeah.
He has more viewers than we do.
Yeah. Oh, Brandon Raymer went out to Lernerville. He ran pretty good. I think he finished 6th or 7th. Yeah,
I believe 7th. Yep, for sure.
Good for him, and good for Ryan Smith, who also ran pretty well out there. He finished 2nd in the points, and was pretty consistent. I think he finished 2nd to Mark Smith last night at Knox, or was it Tri-City?
No.
Tri-City. So that was cool. There was a lot of cars out at Western PA Speed Week, a lot more than in years past.
It's growing. They're doing a good job.
What's that?
It's growing for sure. They're doing a good job.
Yeah. It's only, we say it's only 5 nights, but that's still grueling. We're used to Ohio Speed Week's friggin' 12 nights or 11 nights or something like that, like 10 races over 11 nights, and PA Speed Week's basically the same thing. So Western PA Speed Week is really that thing in the middle, that gets you geared up for Ohio and PA Speed Week. Yeah. It's a good time to do it. They really got something good going there. Got a lot of cars out. So and shout out to AJ Flick again. That's awesome for him to take down that title. It wasn't they were throwing a lot of money into that purse for people to come out, and it's good that he was able to bring that down. Other shout outs Lance Deweese, 2 top 10s, going to 2 tracks that 69K hasn't been to either recently or ever. I don't really know.
I think both hard chargers, wasn't he?
I think he went from 15th to 6th on Saturday, and then I think he went like 12th to 7th on Friday. And like I said before, Lockie McHugh, he just came over to the States. I think this was his first week of racing, and he had 3 top 10s, one with high limit and 2 with the All Stars. I don't know if he ran Houston's last night. I wouldn't doubt if he did.
He's a gasser. That's the name. This guy I've been watching the last couple of years. He's a gasser for sure. He ain't afraid to stand on it and make loud things happen. So,
Yep.
Impressive.
Let's take a look at the weekend ahead.
All
right. Shout out to Tony for giving us these graphics to use. We got Grove, of course, Friday. Port and Lincoln on Saturday. Saturday at Lincoln is the Elijah Hawkins Memorial. They got a lot of cool things going on. There are still some sponsors and donations needed. Contact Jerry Parrish for items for the silent auction. And here's some information here. But yeah, they'll have a silent auction, raffle baskets, stuff like that.
I wonder if they'll make up the 358 feature from last weekend.
I'm not sure. I don't think they announced a date for that yet, so we'll have to find out that. And then Port Royal has the Appalachian Super Late Model Speed Week, and then also 410 sprints and limited late models, I believe. So that should be a good show on Saturday night. Both places, no matter which one you go to. I mean, we're really blessed here to be able to, especially on Saturday night. I mean, Saturday night you'll get 50 to 60 sprint cars split between the 2 tracks, and then you got 358s, you got late models, you got big fields, and you got a good show no matter which one you go to. We're really, really lucky to be able to have that. But and then obviously you got Williams Grove on Friday. It's a Yellow Breeches 500 show with the 358 Summer Series. It's only $15 to get in. I mean, you can't beat 410 and 358s is pretty much one of the best cards that you can go see. So definitely get to the track. Fan appreciation night also. So
what are they appreciating? What's that mean? What's that do?
The fans.
Is that the team entry? What's fan appreciation night do?
I think they do like driver autographs, and
we have to pay.
They open up the pits. I did read that they open up the pits early. So you'll be able to, as a fan, go into the pits, talk to the drivers early before the race, so without having to buy a pit pass. So that's cool. It's always a cool thing to do. Brett Perigo, thanks for tuning in, buddy. Bedrock has USAC East Coast on Friday.
What the hell is Bedrock?
I don't know what Bedrock is. I think does he mean Bedford?
Is that Flintstones?
Bedrock?
Isn't that where the Flintstones live?
Where the hell is Bedford? Yeah, that's what I thought. I think he means Bedford, but I could be wrong. Bedrock could be, knowing him, it's probably somewhere in the middle of West Virginia or something.
All right, bring up that fan appreciation thing again. He said, "Look at the flyer." I am curious. Was that free entry for general admission before the races?
Yep.
Well, I feel appreciated.
And $15, man. I mean, that's
a great deal.
Price.
Yeah, that's good. Get to the racetrack, people. Get to the racetracks.
Yeah,
find one.
Bedford. It's not Bedrock. It's Bedford.
Oh, Bedrock. That's right. Got it.
So yeah, definitely wherever you're at there, this week and get to a track. Also Thursday, shout out Bloomsburg real quick. I know, but they'll have ARDC midgets and IMCA modifieds there on Thursday night on top of their normal divisions, the speedsters, 602 crate sportsmen, and the slingshots and the 4-cylinders. So that's also $15. Get out to the track. It looks like it'll be a nice night Thursday, hopefully. And support your local racetrack, guys. Sealands Grove rained out on Saturday. They made the right call. They made it early enough. It was looking iffy.
Media has given everybody the right to just shit on every track when they rain out. it was raining up there. Like north,
Yeah.
everywhere north was like severe thunderstorms.
It didn't rain yet when they made the call, but we were getting warnings. I'm only 20 minutes from the track. You know, it wasn't raining here yet, but it was so weird. It would drizzle for a second, and then the sun would come out, and then it would get real windy. It was very weird. And we were getting weather alerts. You knew something was going to come, and it rained. You know, it wasn't just a 10-minute passing shower. It rained here for a good hour. So they made the absolute right call, and it rained hard, a lot of wind. Yep. My power was flickering out. So, Brent says, I don't know, Jimmy. I saw a bunch of comments saying Selinsgrove did a bad call. No, they didn't. They did it early enough to let some 360 drivers get to Orange County, who was also running. It wasn't enough for everybody. I know there's some drivers who are like, that's 3.5 hours for me. I totally get it. It sucks, but you weren't going to race at Selinsgrove anyway. So they made the call early enough. At the time, I'm like, it's a little weird. Like, okay. But they made the absolute right call. Even if it only rained for 15 minutes, it was hard enough for it to just wash the night away, basically. So shout out to them. They're and that promotional team there. I know when you're new like with them being new too, like they are under a microscope, and it just, especially with social media, and they've kept their head up high and really have done a good job. So shout out to them.
Sure. Agreed.
Thanks, Billy. Says we're doing a good job. Appreciate that. We're trying here. We get a
YouTube pro like that guy.
Appreciate it. John Sertich, thanks for buddy. Always tunes in every week. I said there was a Bedrock Raceway for go-karts in Illinois, but it's closed. So I don't think he's
East Coast is racing at the closed go-kart track in Illinois this weekend. He'll be there. Go say hi to Brett.
Oh, and truck guy Travis Gardner said 358 feature makeup. I was told is Saturday, so that'll be, so you'll probably get 410 time trial race and 2 358 features. So,
man, where am I going to go Saturday?
I'll be at Port just because it's closer for me, and you can't go, like I was saying, you can't go wrong with either one. We're just so lucky here to be able to have that. Brett here. I appreciate what Selinsgrove is doing, especially with doubling the winged and wingless sportsman purses when they race there. So yeah, that's something that they've been doing. We talked about tiered pit passes and some of the other things. I really think they're on the right track there. Yeah, I don't know what they have this week. I feel bad. I'm gonna look it up real quick. I want to say, I don't know, because the late models are at Selinsgrove. Past 305s, sprint cars, limited late models, and road runners. That's been kind of like their main thing, has been the 305 sprint cars. They get a good car count there and everything. So, and then the next, nope. Yeah, that's right. The next Sunday, they'll have late model speed week there. And URC sprint cars that got pushed from this past Saturday. So that'll be a good show that Sunday. It's their 25th annual Super Late Model Open on top of it being the speed week. So yeah, that's what we got going on this upcoming week. Outlaws are at Knoxville. All Stars, I think, are getting geared up for Ohio Speed Week, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right. Yes. Yeah.
Attica 6-9. So yeah, it starts. So Ohio Speed Week goes Attica, Fremont, Wayne County, 2 nights, Sharon. I think they go to Eldora.
So how many of these is Danny going to go race? If Billy, you're still watching there, what's Danny's schedule for this? Is he going to miss Lincoln?
I would imagine. I'm pretty sure he's committed to the whole Ohio Speed Week, if I remember reading his schedule.
I mean, he has in the past, or at least cut it short to the last one. I mean, it changed the last couple of years, but with that sponsor with it was Sweeney. I don't want to do it wrong. I hate to screw up.
Yeah, no,
I know. Well, it was. They changed
name. What it is? Cochran.
Yeah, Cochran Automotive, number one Cochran, or Cochran number one. I forget which one, but I know that they're out there. So I would imagine he is, and that. Listen, it's it's a commitment to walk away from your tracks. You're leading or up in the points in. But it's always cool to see him go out there and run and
Yeah.
does well and he loves
almost
it.
won the. Did he almost win, or did he win the Speed Week title last year? Billy says he would he would
Just
hate
hate
to
it.
this week in his favorite track.
Yeah, Brett, I think that's the case. There was some overlap in years past, and it seems like the last few years it's been more doing this.
Mhm.
I remember
Yeah,
there were times where guys would have to come home to start PA Speed Week, leave Ohio, run it, come home. And I feel like they've got that where now it's a little bit of a split. So, okay, he's running all of it. Okay.
running it all. So
Makes sense.
So any Ohio fans out there, you'll be seeing at least part of the PA posse come on out and probably take your money. So, yeah. So that's exciting. Ohio Speed we'll get a lot of racing now to watch over the next. I mean, it's almost nonstop from here till the end of June. Between that, then you got Eastern Storm, which is throughout the whole week, the following week, and then you're right in the PA Speed Week. So
Summer Nationals, and then
before you know it, we're gonna be at Williams Grove for National Open.
Eldora,
It goes quick.
Outlaw race.
So, I think that's it. Well,
yeah, that's it. I'm done.
I'm done.
Okay.
I've said my piece. Oh wait, Travis says I got a question for all y'all, Billy, Tony, and Turn 2.
Oh no.
Ask away. Billy says race to competition and the official in the tower.
You're not that fast, bud. They're faster.
Oh, and then Brett says after PA Speed Week is Indiana Sprint Week. Which
no one cares, Brett. They don't have wings. No one gives a shit. They're one step away from being a modified. Stop it. Yeah, how's that for a dig? You got it, Brett.
That one, that's a dig. That's a dig.
That hurts deep inside his little wingless chassis.
Yeah. If Grove and Lincoln have the same official, what makes the difference?
Judgment call. They're all judgment calls. It's not black and white. The penalty might be black and white, but the call to make the call is up to the official standing there.
Situations are different.
Same officials or not. The penalty is a rule in a rule book. The idea is the way that the rules are written is like, hey, the start must start together, whatever. But how many times we've all been fans, we've all been to the racetrack, do you see a start, you go, they don't call it. It's a judgment call. It's pass interference in football. It either is or it isn't based on someone that's watching it and has their hand on the button. The penalty is the penalty.
Yep.
Right? But the officials, one night can be, one night it may not be. I don't care if it's the same person. It's just the way it is. We've seen it for years and years and years. There's plenty of starts that you're like, hell, I think in the 358 heat races, there could have been one called that I was watching that I was like, they're going to let that go, eh? Same night, same track, same officials. You just don't know. That's a judgment call.
I think it's just confirmed that Lincoln hates the Dietrichs.
It's got to be it. They just want to.
That's just got to be what it is. I'm kidding, of course. I'm only kidding.
I want to feed the trolls, bro.
Best judgment with what you see, and you have to make it in seconds. That's true. Trust me, it's not easy. I've been doing it for 20 years. Absolutely, yeah. Sure. I mean, they're humans. They can make an error, and we don't get those officials. Don't usually get the. It's not like the NFL where they get instant replay. I mean, now, if you're showing it on Flow like you were, you can go back and look at it, but you have to make it within seconds, and you can't do it down there on the track. So, so you don't really get that luxury as that we do, to be able to go back and watch it 15 times. Right. But if you're the driver too, you know exactly how it happened in your head. You don't need no replay. You know exactly what happened. It's easy for us to make it sound right or wrong being couch racers, but it's not. And I do want to ask Chalk Guy, what the hell were you drawing on the track before the feature? It looked like hieroglyphics potentially, maybe like the beginnings of a crop circle. It was like an upside down, maybe a 9.
Were you trying to draw 19 upside down, but it came out as a
19.
9-1?
19.
But it wasn't a 1 first. I got a picture of it, I think. I don't know what it was. It looked like maybe you were spelling out like an ex-girlfriend's name or your next
phone number.
tattoo. I don't know. But 19 made sense when I saw it, but it didn't look like a 19. I think you may have done it backwards. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the photo evidence of it. It was a 1. That's funny. No, I was glad you did it. I in my brain, I'm like, that's got to be 19. And there was someone standing beside me and goes, "What was that?" And I said, "I think it was supposed to be a 19." And we kind of looked at each other. Yeah.
This is a good, interesting topic, real quick. From John in the chat. Has anyone ever noticed when Wayne Harper announces the driver, every driver, he is very monotone, yet when he announces little Freddie Raymer, his voice gets all excited and goes up an octave. Interesting. It's kind of the same thing with Bruce at Williamsgrove. Lance Louise. Like always, he just has a way
Inflection.
of saying it. He's just gotten into it. And when a driver wins there a lot, you get used to saying it one way. You know what I mean? So
he's there to entertain the crowd, honestly. Like, he's sort of a hype man. That's a PA announcer. I would say Wayne Harper isn't too much of a hype man. He gets more excited for birthday shout outs most of the time than the racing. But here we are nonetheless. I'm allowed to critique it because I'm a fan. So
Nick's a big Billy Dietrich fan.
Nick, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. But even like I think Bruce does TJ Stutz. He does it in different speed and inflection than other drivers. So, John, while I appreciate you also feeding the trolls,
it's
I
fixed.
see what you did there.
It's fixed from the top down.
It's been fixed for two generations of Ramers. I mean, I heard the same shit when I was a kid watching Fred Raymer win all those races in whatever ways, and it was fixed for him. Drivers would, just pull off the track in front of him. They would call rain when it wasn't raining, just all the things to get a Raymer to win,
Yep. I'm late to the show. I'll definitely be checking out the commentary bets Saturday night.
Tracks too, man. We're gonna wrap this up. We're getting out of here. Yeah. Thank you all for chiming in.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Comment, come see us, say hi, tell us what we're shitty at, whatever. We don't care. Love everybody. Thank you.
See you guys next week.